In previous Soundole Recommends videos, I've looked at games that have had a profound influence on me, but a game doesn't have to be deeply impactful to be memorable. Mini Metro is an example of a game where a beautifully crafted set of mechanics elevate a basic concept into a work of art. Its premise is relatively simple. Shapes, representing train stations, appear at random locations on a map-style interface, and you need to connect them with a certain number of lines and train services. The action plays out in real time as passengers accumulate at stations, so you need to craft your metro for efficiency. Adding complexity to this system, you also need to factor in passenger destinations. Passengers show their destination by their shape, so squares want to travel to square stations, triangles want to travel to triangle stations, and so on. And while the specifics of how they board or change trains are automated, it's up to you to keep all of these possible journeys expeditious. In the main mode of Mini Metro, gameplay ends when a station becomes overcrowded and passengers have to wait too long for a service. There is a gradual difficulty curve as more stations and passengers appear, but for every in-game week that your service keeps running, you're given more resources such as extra trains, carriages, or lines. If that mode gets too stressful, there's also an endless option, where stations don't overcrowd, and the aim is simply to build the most efficient metro system possible. While there are some extra twists that come into play as you unlock new locations, such as using bullet trains in Osaka or trams in Melbourne, Mini Metro's relatively simple mechanics allow for deep strategy and planning. When discussing games as art, games journalism frequently focuses on artistic aspects of games which are present in other forms of media. It's perhaps easier to talk about the artistic qualities of a game's music or animation than it is to talk about the artfulness of a design philosophy or control scheme. But I think we can definitely view those sorts of design elements as an art form in and of themselves. Is there not artistry to the elegant simplicity of Tetris? Is there not a sublime creativity expressed in Mario's Jump? Through this lens, Mini Metro's true artistic genius is revealed. Its simple systems have been tested and polished to perfection, creating an experience which satisfyingly alternates between stress and relaxation. In no way does this praise diminish the aesthetic success of Mini Metro though. The subway map-styled minimalist visual design communicates information clearly and intuitively, and special mention must be made of Disaster Piece's soundtrack. It's an adaptive ambient accompaniment where most sounds come from in-game actions. For instance, the movement of trains create subtle synth pads, while passengers trigger satisfying bell-like tones as they enter trains. The result is frequently mesmerizing. Taking all of these features together, it's probably not hard to see why this has become my go-to game for breaks between work. But beyond that, I think one of Mini Metro's other great virtues is the way it encourages a sense of humility regarding urban planning and infrastructure. We've all had the frustrating experience of having train services cancelled or being stuck on a delayed train with no departure time in sight, but perhaps I'll be more understanding in the future, as Mini Metro has given me a greater sense of the challenges and complexity of managing a public transport system. Failing that, as it's on Apple and Android devices, I can think of few better ways to pass the time while I wait for my train to start moving again. Thanks for watching. If this is your first time to my channel, please consider subscribing to see more of these discussions in the future. I also make a whole bunch of covers of video game music, so if that's your thing, you can check that out with the cards on screen now. Take care of yourself and I'll catch you soon.